Home to 1 million people, saw the worst of the disaster. Police say up to 300 bodies have already been found. Street after street was reduced to rubble.
All we see is a pile of debris. And we've been looking for people, but we see nobody.
More than 90 aftershocks. Some registering a magnitude 6 or higher were felt along a 1,300-mile stretch of Japan's coastline. Nearly a dozen nuclear power plants were shut down, including one 170 miles northeast of Tokyo. The cooling system failed when the electricity went out, raising pressure in the nuclear core and forcing authorities to announce they would vent radioactive vapor. While they say the gas is not a health or environmental threat, thousands of people within a 6-mile radius of the plant were evacuated. Throughout the country, people were stunned by the violence of the quake. It's really frightening, this woman said, in the town of Yokohama, where people were literally dodging falling debris.
I've never experienced such shaking before. I could not keep standing, and I've never experienced such an earthquake before.
Skyscrapers swayed in Tokyo, 240 miles southwest of the quake's epicenter, sending people running out of office buildings and into the streets. Shaken commuters were stranded as train and subway service, usually moving 10 million people per day, came to a grinding halt. And streets were jammed with cars going nowhere. By nightfall, fires were widespread throughout the quake zone. A fire at this large oil refinery in the city of Ichihara was out of control. Its flames, hundreds of feet high, were visible for miles. Authorities are urging citizens to stay in their evacuation centers, not to try and go look at their homes because of the continuing threat of aftershocks and tsunami. Katie?
But Lucy, it is daylight now in Japan. What are we learning?
We're seeing on TV just scenes of utter tragedy. Houses with their roofs ripped off, whole villages destroyed, at least 2 villages destroyed. A forest thrown like a pile of chopsticks onto a bunch of houses. It's just heartbreaking to see.
The actual quake, I know, occurred several hours north of Tokyo by car. How difficult has it been to make contact with anyone living close to the epicenter?
Very difficult. Landline, cell phone, it doesn't matter. It's been almost impossible to get through to people in Sendai. I know this myself because I have a son there who goes to school, Katie, and we haven't been able to reach him since before the earthquake started. This part of Japan is normally very accessible. There's a high-speed bullet train that can get you there in just a couple of hours. The bullet trains have been halted, and the highways also are accessible only to emergency vehicles right now.
Well, Lucy Kraft in Tokyo. Lucy, thank you so much, and I certainly hope you'll be able to reach your son very, very soon. Thank you so much. After the tsunami devastated Japan, the fear was other countries across the Pacific would be hit next. Tsunami warnings went up in 53 countries, including the United States, where there were some very anxious moments on the West Coast. John Blackstone is there.
The images from Japan show the terrifying destructive power of waves up to 30 feet high. Devastation as far as the eye could see as a tsunami rolled across the Pacific, surging all the way to coastal California, where boats were ripped from their moorings.
So what you have in the case of Japan is the old Pacific Ocean seafloor actually plunging underneath the island of Japan.
It began deep below the ocean, 80 miles off the Japanese coast. The Pacific plate slipped violently, rupturing a section of the sea floor nearly 200 miles long and 100 miles wide. The explosion of energy created powerful waves radiating across the ocean, moving as fast as 600 miles an hour. In the deep ocean, the waves are not high, but when they hit shallow water near shore, the crest can be dramatic and deadly. Just how deadly became clear in the Indonesian tsunami of 2004 that killed 230,000 people. The death toll for this tsunami is still not known, partly because its impact spread so far. Where it started in Japan, waves were so high the gauges to measure them were broken. In Soma, Japan, the crest hit 24 feet. Over the next hours, the tsunami spread across the Pacific. At 8:27 Eastern Time, waves of nearly 6 feet washed onto the beaches of Maui. 2 hours later, the tsunami began hitting the California coast. There, waves reached nearly 8 feet high in Crescent City, destroying the harbor and wrecking boats.
It looks like a tornado hit it, like you see in the Midwest.
In Santa Cruz, south of San Francisco, surge after surge swept into the harbor, washing boats back and forth as owners looked on helplessly.
This is really scary. I'm sorry. I'm kind of emotional. I gotta go.
South of Los Angeles, in Orange County, a helicopter pilot watched as the tsunami surge made a canal flow backwards.
That's a dramatic video there, buddy.
Despite warnings to stay away, 5 people were swept out to sea. 4 in Oregon were rescued, but 1 man in Northern California is still missing. Katie?
John Blackstone in San Francisco tonight. John, thank you. Japanese authorities declared a state of emergency at that nuclear plant damaged by the quake as radiation levels spiked. More on that from Nancy Cordes.
The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant was designed to withstand the fiercest of earthquakes. As soon as the plant lost power, diesel generators kicked in, even as workers like Danny Udy were dodging the crashing debris, trying to get out.
He said he cut his feet and it slowed him down. And that's what he said was he said that was my lucky point. It slowed me down. He said, or otherwise, if I'd have been a little faster, I would have been in the tsunami and washed out to sea.
But then at least one of the generators failed, crippling the cooling system that pumps thousands of gallons of water through one of the plant's 6 reactors. Heat began to build, and so did pressure in the form of steam. Plant managers began considering releasing some steam into the reactor's containment unit, or even into the air, to prevent an uncontrolled leak like the one at Pennsylvania's 3 Mile Island in 1979.
So humans can withstand a certain amount of radioactive vapor with no problem?
Right, because what you do is when you have that vapor released from the site, it automatically goes into the atmosphere and spreads out. So it's not a significant amount, and it's not a concentrated amount.
Still, when radiation levels inside the plant climbed to 1,000 times the normal level, the evacuation area was expanded from a 2-mile radius to a 6-mile radius. Japan's 55 nuclear reactors provide about 1/3 of the nation's power. 11 of them were in the earthquake zone.
The fact is that a dozen of these reactors have shut down and have done what they were designed to do.
But now comes word that the cooling system has failed at a second nuclear plant. Extra generators are being trucked in because getting a consistent source of power to the systems at both plants is going to be the key to averting a meltdown, Katie.
Nancy Cordes. Nancy, thank you. The pictures alone give you an idea of the sheer force of this earthquake. Now consider this. At a magnitude of 8.9, it was more than 700 times stronger than last year's devastating quake in Haiti, and about 2,000 times stronger than the 1994 Northridge earthquake in California. Dr. Lucy Jones is a seismologist with the U.S. Geological Survey. Dr. Jones, how surprised were scientists by the magnitude of this quake?
Well, a mixed bag. It is a plate boundary. We know that these things happen, but this is the largest earthquake in the last 140 years around Japan, and some of the maps had said they thought that that northern part would never have such a large earthquake. Obviously, that's not the case.
How does this tsunami compare to the one that struck Thailand and Indonesia back in 2004?
This tsunami is a bit smaller than the Indian Ocean tsunami because the earthquake is a bit smaller. I mean, a tsunami happens because you have a massive earthquake on a huge fault that moves a large part of the seafloor up, and the water that used to be there has to go somewhere else.
Could this type of undersea earthquake happen along the United States coastline?
There are 2 places in the United States where we have a similar type of fault that will also produce a big earthquake and a big tsunami. One is the Aleutian Arc around Alaska, and the other, much more dangerously, is the Pacific Northwest. There's one of these types of faults running all the way from Cape Mendocino in the south to the island of Victoria in British Columbia in the north.
What can scientists, in your view, hope to learn from this event?
Oh, this is going to be the best recorded earthquake ever. The Japanese have spectacular instrumentation, and I think we're going to learn a lot more about the fundamental nature of earthquakes. We're also going to be learning a lot about how buildings behave in these very largest events, and especially the cities of Seattle and Portland should hope that we're looking very, very carefully at just how the Japanese buildings behaved.
Dr. Lucy Jones of the U.S. Geological Survey. Dr. Jones, thanks so much. Those areas